The air in the Crescent Pack's sacred circle smelled of wet earth, pine, and the metallic tang of blood. My blood. It dripped from my split lip onto the white ceremonial marble, a stark contrast of crimson against purity. I was on my knees, not because I wanted to pray. Because two warriors twice my size had forced me there, their claws dimpling the skin of my shoulders. My dress, the only thing my mother left me before she died, was torn at the shoulder. The fabric, once a pale blue, was now a muddy brown from the mud they'd made me crawl through. I was Saraphina Vance, 19 winters, daughter of a dead warrior. Rated as an Omega by the Council's blood scanner, a designation that meant I had the spiritual power of a mouse in a pack of lions. But tonight wasn't about my designation. Tonight was about my sin. Alpha Kalen Blackwood stood at the top of the dais, his broad back to me. He was a sculpture of ice and fury, jet-black hair slicked back, silver eyes that reflected no warmth. For 2 years, I had loved him in silence. For 2 years, I had scrubbed the floors of his chamber, washed his battle leathers, and left wildflowers on his desk because I heard him say once that he missed the scent of the meadow. He never noticed, until tonight. "Bring her forward," Kalen said. His voice was a low baritone that usually commanded armies. Now it was a blade pressed to my throat. The warriors dragged me closer. My knees cracked against the stone step. That's when I saw her. Seleni Vance, my older sister, my blood. She stood beside Kalen, wrapped in a cloak of silver fox fur, her blonde hair braided with moonflowers. She looked like a goddess descended from the lunar sky. And she was smiling, not a happy smile, a finished smile, like a chess player who had just said checkmate. "The council has deliberated," Kalen announced, his eyes scanning the crowd of 500 wolves. He refused to look at me. "Saraphina Vance is guilty of the highest treason, attempted assassination of the future Luna." A gasp rippled through the crowd. Children hid behind their mothers' legs. Old warriors spat on the ground. I shook my head, water flying from my tangled hair. "No, that's not true." My voice was a broken thing, a whisper lost in a hurricane. 3 hours ago, Seleni had come to my servant's quarters. She had wept holding a letter. She said a rogue faction was planning to poison Kalen at the ceremony. She said the poison was in his wine chalice. She begged me to swap the chalices to save him. "You're the only one who can get close to the table," she had sobbed. "He hates me right now. We had a fight. If he sees me near the wine, he'll think I'm the traitor. Please, Saraphina, for the pack, for him." I was an Omega, a fool. A girl who had been starved of kindness for so long that a few tears from her perfect sister felt like a banquet. I swapped the chalices. When Kalen raised the wine to his lips, nothing happened. But when his beta, a loyal brute named Dorian, drank from the other chalice, the one meant for Kalen, he collapsed. His veins turned black. He convulsed for 7 seconds before his heart stopped. They said I tried to kill the Alpha. They said the poison was found in my quarters. They said the Omega had finally snapped. "Saraphina Vance!" Kalen finally turned. His silver eyes finally landed on me, and there was nothing there. No memory of the wildflowers, no recognition of the girl who mended his shirts, just cold, administrative disgust. "For the murder of Beta Dorian and the attempted murder of your Alpha, I, Kalen Blackwood, sentence you to death by the breaking wheel." The crowd roared its approval. Seleni stepped forward. She placed a delicate hand on Kalen's chest. "Wait, my Alpha." My heart lurched. She's going to stop it. She's going to confess. Seleni looked down at me. Her eyes were the color of winter frost. She leaned in close, so close her lips brushed my ear. Only I could hear what she said next. "Did you really think I'd let you have him?" She whispered, her breath warm against my frozen skin. "You, the maggot in the dirt. I needed a scapegoat, little sister. Dorian was loyal to you. He was going to tell Kalen that I've been stealing pack funds. So I killed 2 birds with 1 stone. I killed Dorian. And I get to watch you die." The world tilted. She pulled back, tears now streaming down her face. She was a brilliant actress. "Alpha," she said loudly, her voice trembling with fake mercy. "Don't kill her tonight. The moon is high. The goddess watches. Banish her to the thornwood. Let the wild things judge her. It is a more poetic justice. Kalen considered this. He looked at me, the broken, shivering Omega in the mud. Then he looked at Seleni, the radiant beauty who had comforted him after Dorian's death. So be it, Kalen said. Strip her of her packmark. At dawn she enters the thornwood. No weapons, no clothes, no mercy. The pack cheered again. They chanted Seleni's name. Luna, Luna, Luna. Seleni blew me a kiss. The warriors ripped the back of my neck. The removal of the packmark felt like a hot iron branding my soul. I screamed, a raw animal sound I didn't know I could make. I felt the thread of connection to Crescent Pack sever. I was alone, truly, cosmically alone. They threw me in a cage made of wolfsbane-laced iron. I lay there in the dark, shivering, bleeding, as the rain turned to sleet. I thought about my mother. She died giving birth to me. The pack always said I killed her. Maybe they were right. Maybe I was a curse. I touched my chest. Dorian was my only friend, the only one who taught me how to read. He died because he was kind to me. Did you really think I'd let you have him? Seleni's words burned. I closed my eyes. I didn't pray to the moon goddess. I didn't beg for rescue. I just stopped. The cold became warmth. The pain became numbness. The sorrow became a vast, empty ocean. I was dying, not from the wolves, not from the poison, from a broken heart. And just as the last flicker of my consciousness began to fade, just as the darkness swallowed the final dot of light, I felt it. A heat, not a fever, not a fire, a furnace, deep in my chest. Where the pack mark used to be, something was cracking. Something was hatching. A voice, ancient, primal, and terrifying, spoke inside my skull. They buried you alive, little wolf, but graves are just wombs for the powerful. My eyes snapped open. They were no longer the dull brown of an omega. They were glowing. Gold. The wolfsbane-laced iron should have been paralyzing me. The metal was designed to suppress wolf DNA, to turn an alpha into a whimpering pup. For an omega like me, it should have been a death sentence within minutes. But the heat inside my chest wasn't fading. It was eating the poison. I looked down at my hands. The purple veins from the wolfsbane exposure were receding. In their place, a faint golden light pulsed beneath my skin, like magma flowing just under the Earth's crust. What's happening to me? The last time anyone in Crescent Pack had glowing eyes was 3 centuries ago. The history books said it was a sign of a pure blood, a wolf born from the original bloodline of the moon goddess herself. But those wolves were extinct, hunted to death during the Great Purging. I was an omega. My blood was supposed to be mud, and yet I reached out and touched the iron bars. SSSSSSSSS. Steam erupted. The metal screamed. Not a physical sound, a spiritual one. The bars buckled. They twisted like living things trying to escape my touch. I pulled my hand back, my heart hammering. No, focus. If I break out now, they'll catch me before I reach the tree line. Seleni has guards everywhere. I need to wait until dawn. I need them to believe I'm dead. I closed my eyes and forced the heat down. It was like trying to strangle a dragon with my bare hands. The golden light flickered, fought me, wanted to be seen. Not yet, I whispered to whatever was inside me. Not yet. Let them think they've won. Miraculously, the heat obeyed. It retreated to my core, coiling there like a patient serpent. My eyes faded back to brown. The glow vanished. I waited. 3 hours until dawn. The guard changed. 2 new wolves took positions outside my cage, a grizzled veteran named Marcus and a young hothead named Finn. They were drinking something from a flask. Whiskey, probably. It dulled the senses. Can't believe the alpha is really gonna throw her to the thornwood, Finn muttered, spitting on the ground near my cage. Seems like a waste. We should just gut her now. Marcus shook his head. Orders are orders. The new Luna wants a spectacle. She wants the pack to see what happens to traitors. New Luna. Seleni had already moved into the Luna's chambers. I had scrubbed those floors yesterday morning. I remembered finding a hairpin under the bed, a silver one with a crescent moon. I had returned it to Seleni's room. She had smiled at me. She was already planning my death even then. Hey! Finn kicked the cage. I didn't move. I kept my breathing shallow, my eyes glassy. You awake in there, murderer? I said nothing. She's catatonic, Marcus observed. Shock, the removal of the pack mark breaks most wolves. She'll be dead before the thornwood thorns even touch her. Let them think that. The whiskey was working. Their voices slurred, their stances softened. I counted their heartbeats. I had never been able to do that before, but now I could hear everything. The rain hitting individual leaves, the worms turning in the soil 10 feet below me, the blood rushing through Marcus's carotid artery. Thump, 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 slow, lazy, drunk. 2 hours until dawn. Finn leaned against a tree and closed his eyes. Marcus followed suit, his chin dropping to his chest. I waited 60 more seconds, then 90, then I moved. Visual, the cage door opens in complete silence. Her bare feet touch mud. The rain washes the blood from her face. The lock was old, rusted. I didn't break it, I convinced it. The metal remembered being ore in a mountain. I reminded it of that freedom. The lock clicked open. I stepped out. The rain hit my face. For the first time in my life, it didn't feel cold. It felt like anointing oil. I looked down at the 2 guards. I could kill them. The serpent in my chest wanted to. It whispered images of claws through throats, of blood mixing with mud. No. That's what Seleni would do. I was not her. I would not become the monster she wanted me to be. I walked past them. Silent, naked, barefoot. The thornwood loomed ahead, a wall of black thorns 20 feet high, shrouded in perpetual mist. No wolf had entered and returned in living memory. The thorns were coated in a neurotoxin that paralyzed the wolf's spirit. You went in. You never came out. I didn't hesitate. I walked into the thorns. The first thorn cut my arm. I felt the toxin enter my bloodstream, a cold, numbing fire. My wolf, the small, caged thing that had always been there, whimpered and curled up. It's killing her, I thought. The toxin is killing my wolf. But the heat in my chest roared. The golden light exploded out of me. I looked down at my arm. The cut was healing, not slowly. Instantly, the flesh knit together. The toxin evaporated from my pores as black smoke. The thorns reached for me again. I raised a hand. No, the word wasn't mine, not entirely. It was the voice from the cage. The ancient one. The thorns stopped. They pulled back. They bowed. I stood in the center of the thornwood, the death forest, and nothing touched me. The mist parted. A path opened. And at the end of the path, buried under centuries of moss and roots, was a door. Not a wooden door. A stone door, carved with symbols I had never seen before, spirals and moons and wolves with 3 eyes. The stone was warm, alive. I reached out and touched the carving. The door spoke. The blood of the pure blood has returned. The seal is broken. The air awakens. The ground shook, trees uprooted. The sky, which had been black, turned the color of a bruise, purple and gold and red. And then the door swung open. Inside was a tomb. No, a throne room. Skeletons lined the walls, ancient wolves dressed in armor that had turned to dust. They sat on stone benches facing a central pedestal. On the pedestal rested a crown, not gold, not silver, starlight. It pulsed with the same golden light that lived in my chest. I walked toward it. My feet left prints of light on the stone floor. When I reached the pedestal, I saw the inscription beneath the crown. For the Omega who endures the fire. For the rejected who becomes the reckoning. For the daughter of no pack who will become the mother of all. Tears mixed with rain on my face. I'm not an Omega, I realized. I'm not a wolf. I am something the world forgot. I picked up the crown. And somewhere in the distant heart of Crescent Pack, Seleni sat up in Kaylan's bed. Her eyes snapped open. She put a hand to her chest, her face pale. "What is that?" she whispered. Kaylan stirred beside her. "What?" Seleni's hand was shaking. The moon, it just bled. The color changed. Something woke up. Kaylan frowned. "It's just a storm." Seleni looked toward the window. The moon was no longer silver, it was gold. "No," she breathed, "it's not." The moment my fingers closed around the starlight crown, the skeletons moved. Not in a horror way, not lurching or clawing. They turned their skulls toward me. Empty eye sockets that had been dark for 1,000 years suddenly held tiny flames. Gold flames. like candles lighting one by one in a forgotten cathedral. "She rises," the skeletons whispered. Their jaws didn't move. The sound came from everywhere and nowhere. "The forgotten daughter, the breaker of chains." I should have been terrified. Any sane wolf would have dropped the crown and run. But I wasn't sane anymore. Sanity died in that cage. I placed the crown on my head. Visual, the crown sinks onto her matted hair. Light explodes outward in a shockwave. The tomb shakes. The thornwood screams. The transformation was not gentle, it was violence. Every cell in my body caught fire. My bones snapped and reknit. My spine elongated. My teeth sharpened. I fell to my knees as my wolf, the tiny, starved thing I had always carried, devoured me from the inside. But this wasn't a normal wolf. Normal wolves are born from the moon goddess's first breath. They have one form, one spirit. I had three. The first wolf was the Omega, the broken girl who scrubbed floors and accepted beatings. She died first. I felt her go, a soft, sad farewell. The second wolf was the Avenger, the golden-eyed creature who melted iron and commanded thorns. She rose from the ashes of the first. She was rage. She was justice. She was the sword. And the third wolf opened her eyes and I saw forever. She was not rage. She was not justice. She was creation itself, the thing that existed before the moon goddess, the thing that would exist after the last star burned out. "You are not ready for me," the third wolf whispered. "But you will be. Survive the crown first, little one." Then the fire stopped. I collapsed on the stone floor, gasping, naked, covered in sweat and blood that wasn't mine. The crown was heavy on my head, not physically, but spiritually. It felt like carrying a mountain on my shoulders. I looked at my hands. They were different. The scars from years of servant work were gone. My fingers were longer, stronger. The nails were no brittle, they were claws, retractable and sharp as razors. I stood up. My legs didn't shake. I looked at the skeletons. They were bowing. "What am I?" I asked. The oldest skeleton, the one on the highest throne, lifted its skull. "You are the primogen," it said. "The first blood. The wolves you know are descendants of lesser spirits, but you carry the blood of the original, the wolf who walked beside the goddess before the moon existed." I shook my head. "That's impossible. The primogen were hunted to extinction. The histories say so." The skeleton made a sound like dry leaves rattling, a laugh. "The histories were written by the hunters. Do you think they would admit that they failed? That one egg survived. That one pure-blood female was hidden among the Omegas, waiting for the right moment to hatch. My mother, she died giving birth to me. No, she died hiding me. The pregnancy wasn't an accident. It was a sacrifice. She poured all her primogen power into my birth, knowing it would kill her because the hunters were close. They would have killed us both. She chose me. I fell to my knees again, not from pain this time, from grief. "I never knew," I whispered. "I thought she abandoned me. I thought I killed her." "She loved you," the skeleton said, "and now you must honor her love by surviving. The crown has woken the hunters. They are already moving." "What hunters?" The skeleton pointed a bony finger at the ceiling. Through the stone, I saw them. Ships, not wooden ships, metal ships, floating in the sky, surrounded by storm clouds that moved against the wind. Each ship carried a banner I recognized from the old paintings. A silver axe on a black field. The Silver Axe Guild. The same hunters who killed the primogen 1,000 years ago. "They felt your awakening," the skeleton said. "They will burn this entire region to find you, every pack, every village, every wolf." I stood up. The crown pulsed. "Then I won't be here when they arrive." I walked out of the tomb. Back in Crescent Pack territory, a crowd had gathered to watch my execution. Well, my non-execution. They expected to see my body dragged out of the thornwood by the morning patrol. They expected to find bones picked clean by the thorn serpents. Instead, the patrol found 2 unconscious guards and an empty cage. Seleni was furious. "Find her!" she shrieked, her perfect face twisted with rage. "She can't have gone far. An Omega can't survive the thornwood." Kalen stood beside her, his jaw tight. He looked at the open cage. At the melted lock, at the absence of any blood trail. An Omega didn't do this, he said quietly. Seleni whipped toward him. What are you saying? I'm saying, Kalen replied, his silver eyes scanning the thornwood mist, that I've never seen wolfsbane iron melt. That's not Omega power. That's not even Alpha power. Then what is it? Kalen didn't answer because he saw something in the mist, a shape, walking toward them. Visual, Saraphina emerges from the thornwood. She is wearing a dress made of woven thorns and moonlight. The crown sits on her head. Her eyes are solid gold. The crowd gasped. Children screamed. Warriors reached for weapons, but their hands froze, not from cold, from fear. The kind of primal fear that prey feels when the predator is no longer an animal but a force. Seleni took a step back. For the first time in her life, she looked genuinely afraid. Impossible, she breathed. I stopped 10 feet from the tree line. I looked at the pack, at the people who watched me bleed, who cheered for my death. Then I looked at Seleni. Sister, I said. My voice was not the broken whisper from last night. It was resonant, layered, like multiple women speaking at once. You wanted me dead, but you made one mistake. Seleni's throat bobbed. And what's that? I smiled. It was not a kind smile. You forgot to make sure I stayed dead. Behind me, the thornwood erupted. The vines and thorns that had killed every wolf for 1,000 years rose into the air like snakes. They formed a wall behind me, a living army of green and black, and then I heard it. Hoofbeats not from the pack, from the east. A column of riders crested the hill, black horses, black armor, and at their head a man who made Kalen look like a pup. He was massive, easily 7 feet of muscle and fury. His hair was white blonde, almost silver, pulled back from a face that looked carved from glacier ice. His eyes were the color of a stormy sea, gray-green, ancient. He wore a crown of black iron, and he was looking directly at me. Kalen went pale. The Alpha King. The stranger dismounted before his horse stopped moving. He walked through the crowd like they were wheat stalks. No one stopped him. No one could. He stopped in front of me, close enough that I could smell him, ice and smoke and something electric. He looked at the crown on my head, then he looked at my eyes, and he smiled. I've been searching for you for 300 years, he said. His voice was a low rumble like distant thunder. Welcome back, primogen. The crowd held its breath. 300 years. The Alpha King had been searching for 300 years. That meant he was old, older than any living wolf had a right to be. Immortals were myths. Fairy tales told to pups before bed, but the weight of him was real. I looked up into those storm-gray eyes and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Safety. It made no sense. He was a stranger, a predator, the most powerful wolf in the world. And yet, standing beside him, the crown on my head felt lighter. The heat in my chest stopped thrashing and started purring. I don't know you, I said. His smile widened. It transformed his face from terrifying to devastating. No, but your blood knows mine. He raised his hand, slowly, deliberately, and pressed his palm against my chest. Right over my heart. The world shattered. I saw flashes, not memories, visions, a battlefield under a red moon. 2 wolves fighting back to back against an army of shadows. A woman with my face, laughing, her hand intertwined with a man who looked exactly like the Alpha King. A promise whispered in the dark, no matter how many lifetimes it takes, I will find you. Then it stopped. I stumbled backward, gasping. My heart was racing, not from fear, from recognition. You knew her, I whispered. The last primogen, the one before me. The Alpha King dropped his hand. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes were aching. She was my mate, he said. 300 years ago, the hunters murdered her during the Great Purging, but before she died, she cast a spell, a reincarnation spell. She said her soul would return in a vessel the hunters would never suspect. An Omega, the lowest of the low, they would never look there. My knees buckled. I was her. I was the reincarnation of his murdered mate. Seleni's voice cut through the moment like a shard of glass. This is absurd. She pushed through the crowd, her face flushed with rage and terror. She pointed a shaking finger at me. She's an Omega, a servant, a nobody. You expect us to believe she's some ancient queen reborn. The Alpha King turned, just turned. He didn't growl, didn't snarl, didn't even raise his voice, but Seleni took 3 steps back. "Kalan," the Alpha King said, not looking at the Crescent Alpha. "Control your woman, or I will." Kalan's face went white. He grabbed Seleni's arm. "Be quiet." "But," I said, "quiet." Seleni's mouth snapped shut. Her eyes burned with hatred. She looked at me like she wanted to skin me alive. "Good, let her look." "You don't remember everything yet," he said. "The crown will restore your memories slowly. Too fast and your mind will break, but there's something you need to know now." He stepped closer, close enough that his breath warmed my cheek. "The hunters are already here." I stiffened. "The ships in the sky." His eyes widened slightly. "You saw them. The skeletons in the tomb showed me." He nodded grim. "The Silver Axe Guild hasn't attacked yet because they're waiting for confirmation. They felt the primogen awakening, but they don't know who. If they realize it's you, the reincarnation of the woman they spent 3 centuries trying to erase, they won't just burn this pack. They'll burn the continent." "Why?" I asked. "Why do they hate the primogen so much?" The Alpha King's jaw tightened. "Because the primogen aren't just wolves," he said. "They're the original wolves, the ones who taught the moon goddess how to howl. The hunters serve a different god, a god of order and silence, and the primogen represent the one thing their god cannot control." "What's that?" "Freedom." The Alpha King, his name was Caspian, I learned commandeered the hall. Kalan didn't argue. No one argued with Caspian. He was the High Alpha, the ruler of every pack from the eastern sea to the western wastes. I sat at the head of the table, not Kalan, me. The crown was still on my head. I hadn't taken it off. I wasn't sure I could. Caspian stood by the window, watching the horizon. The hunter ships were closer now. I could see them without straining, 3 massive vessels floating on currents of dark magic. "We have 2 options," Caspian said. "Option 1, I take you to the northern citadel. It's fortified, warded. You'll be safe there while you learn to control your power. And option 2, Caspian turned. "Option 2, you stay here and face the hunters. Prove to the world that the primogen have returned. Rally the packs. Start a war." "A war we might lose," Kalan said quietly. He was standing in the corner, arms crossed. He hadn't looked at me directly since I walked out of the thornwood. Caspian nodded. "Yes, we might." I looked down at my hands, the hands that had melted iron, the hands that had commanded thorns. "I've been running my whole life," I said. "From Seleni, from the pack, from my own shadow, I'm done running." I stood up. "We fight." Caspian's eyes blazed with something that looked like pride, or maybe longing. "Then we need to prepare," he said. "The hunters will send a vanguard first, a small team to confirm the primogen's identity. If we kill the vanguard, the main fleet will hesitate. They'll regroup. That buys us time." "How long?" 3 days, maybe 4. I nodded. "Then let's make them count." I stood by the window, watching the hunter ships drift closer. A knock, not Seleni. She had been confined to her father's house under guard. Kalan had finally seen the truth, or at least enough of it to realize Seleni was dangerous. The door opened. Caspian walked in. He had changed out of his battle armor. He wore a simple black tunic and leather pants. Without the armor, he looked younger, almost vulnerable. Almost. "You should sleep," he said. "I can't." He walked to the window and stood beside me, close, not touching. "The last time we stood like this," he said quietly, "you were wearing a blue dress. There was snow on the ground. You were laughing at something I said." My throat tightened. "I don't remember." "You will." I turned to face him. The moonlight caught his features, sharp cheekbones, a jaw that could cut glass, eyes that had seen too much. "Why did you wait 300 years?" I asked. "Why didn't you just move on?" "Find another mate." Caspian was silent for a long moment. "Because," he finally said, "when you've held the sun in your arms, every other light is just darkness pretending." My heart stopped. Then the door slammed open. Seleni stood there, drenched in blood, her eyes wild, a knife in her hand. Behind her, 2 guards lay unconscious. "You think I'm finished?" she hissed. "You think I'll let you take everything from me?" She lunged, not at me, at Caspian. The knife, coated in black liquid, sank into his side before he could move. Seleni laughed. Wolfsbane and silver nitrate. Even an immortal can't heal that fast. Caspian stumbled. His face went pale, and in that moment I felt something inside me snap. The third wolf opened her eyes. Solidified, she froze mid-stride, 1 foot lifted, her face locked in a mask of terror. Her eyes moved. They were the only part of her still free. They begged. The third wolf smiled through my mouth. No. I felt the power rushing through me like a river breaking a dam. It was intoxicating. Perfect. I could end her. I could unmake her. I could scatter her atoms across the continent and no one would ever find a single trace. And I wanted to. Gods, I wanted to. But then I heard another sound. Caspian. He was on his knees, one hand pressed to the wound in his side. Black veins crawled up his neck. The wolfsbane and silver were working fast. His lips were turning blue. Saraphina, he gasped. Don't. The third wolf paused. Don't become her, he said. Don't become the monster they fear. You're better than this. You're better than me. I looked at Seleni, suspended, helpless. I looked at my own hands, glowing gold, crackling with power that could level mountains. And I chose. I pulled the third wolf back. It was like trying to stop a tidal wave with a teacup. She fought me. She raged. She wanted blood. She wanted Seleni's soul on a platter. No, I told her. Not like this. Not in anger, justice, not vengeance. The golden light flickered, and then slowly, painfully, it receded. Seleni dropped to the floor like a rag doll. She gasped, sobbing, curled into a ball. Her perfect hair was tangled. Her dress was torn. She looked like what she was, a broken, petty, cruel woman who had finally met something bigger than her schemes. I stepped over her. I walked to Caspian. Stay with me, I whispered. His gray-green eyes found mine. Even dying, even poisoned, he looked at me like I was the only light in a dark universe. You pulled back, he said. How? I didn't want to scare you. He laughed, a wet, bloody sound. Sweetheart, I've seen scarier things than you at breakfast. I pressed harder. The poison was spreading. I could feel it under his skin, a cold, crawling darkness. The wolfsbane was designed to kill wolves. The silver was designed to kill immortals. Together, they were designed to kill gods. But I wasn't a god. I was a primogen. And primogens don't heal with medicine. They heal with blood. I pressed the wound to Caspian's lips. Drink, I commanded. He hesitated. If I drink primogen blood, I'll be bound to you, forever. You understand that? I understand that you're dying and I'm not losing you again. His eyes widened. Again. I don't remember everything, I said, but I remember enough. I remember loving you. I remember promising to find you. And I remember that you waited 300 years. You don't get to die in my arms 5 minutes after I finally wake up. Caspian's throat bobbed. Then he drank. The black veins in his neck turned gold. His wounds knitted shut, not slowly but explosively. New skin formed over the gash. His heart, I could hear it, resumed a steady, powerful rhythm. He gasped, pulling back. His eyes blazed gold for a moment before fading back to gray-green. He looked at me. Mate, he whispered. The word hit me like a thunderbolt. I felt it, the bond, snapping into place like a lock closing. Every emotion he felt suddenly echoed in my chest. His relief, his awe, his terror that I might still reject him. I put my hand on his cheek. Mate, I replied. Behind us, Seleni let out a choked sob. We had forgotten about her. Caspian stood beside me, fully healed, his arm brushing mine. The bond hummed between us like a plucked string. Kalen stood across the room, his face unreadable. He had been silent since Seleni's attack. I wondered what he was thinking. Did he regret sentencing me to death? Did he regret choosing Seleni? I didn't care anymore. The pack gathered, the same pack that had cheered for my execution. Now they stared at me with wide, frightened eyes. They had felt the third wolf's power. They had felt the ground shake. Seleni knelt in the center of the hall. Her hands were bound, her face was streaked with tears. I demand trial by combat, she said, her voice trembling. Caspian raised an eyebrow. You tried to murder me. There is no trial for that, only execution. Seleni's eyes darted to Kalen. Alpha, please, I carried your child. You carried nothing, Kalen said coldly. The healer confirmed it this morning. You lied, you were never pregnant, you just wanted me to choose you over her. The crowd murmured. Seleni's face crumbled. Her last lie, her final shield, gone. I stepped forward. Get up, I said. Seleni looked at me like I'd grown a second head. I said get up. She rose on shaking legs. I looked at the pack, at the people who had called me maggot, who had thrown stones at my back, who had laughed when Seleni poured sour milk on my head during the harvest festival. You all watched her destroy me, I said. You watched her frame me for murder. You watched her sentence me to death, and you cheered. No one met my eyes. I could kill her, I continued. I could kill all of you. The third wolf wants to. She's whispering it right now. I let the gold flicker in my eyes, but I won't. I turned to Seleni, because killing you would be mercy, and you don't deserve mercy. Seleni's lower lip trembled. What are you going to do? I smiled. I'm going to let you live, here in this pack, as an omega. Every day, I said, you will wake up in the servants' quarters, the same ones I lived in for 19 years. You will scrub floors, you will wash laundry, you will take the beatings and the insults and the scraps, and every night you will look in the mirror and remember that you did this to yourself. Seleni collapsed. You can't, she sobbed. Please, I'm your sister. No, I said. You were my sister, now you're nothing. I looked at Kaylan. She's your problem now, Alpha. Make sure she doesn't run. Kaylan nodded slowly. There was something new in his expression, respect, and regret. 1,000 regrets. The hunter ships were closer now. I could see figures moving on the decks. You were merciful, Caspian said, joining me at the railing. More merciful than I would have been. Mercy isn't weakness, I replied. No, but it can be dangerous. I leaned into him, his arm wrapped around my waist. The hunters will be here by morning, he said. Are you ready? I looked at the crown in my reflection on the dark stone, the gold in my eyes. No, I admitted, but I will be. Below us, in the village, a scream ripped through the night. Not Seleni, worse, I looked down. A figure stood in the center of the square, tall, hooded, holding a severed wolf head in one hand. He looked up, his eyes were white, completely white, no pupil, no iris, and he was smiling. Found you, he whispered. And then the first hunter ship opened fire. The first blast hit the eastern gate. Stone exploded, wood splintered. Wolves screamed, not battle cries, but death rattles. The hunter ships weren't dropping soldiers. They were dropping bombs, spheres of black iron that cracked open on impact and released clouds of silver dust in the air. For wolves, it was like breathing acid. I watched a mother collapse, clutching her pup, both of them choking, their skin blistering. I watched warriors shift into their wolf forms only to stumble and fall, their lungs burning from the inside. Caspian grabbed my arm. We need to evacuate the pack. Now, where? The northern citadel is too far, the thornwood. The thornwood kills wolves, I said. Caspian's gray-green eyes met mine. The thornwood kills normal wolves, but you're not normal, and neither am I anymore, not after your blood. He was right. The thornwood had bowed to me once. It would bow again. Get everyone to the tree line, I said. I'll hold them off. Saraphina, I said, go. The silver dust swirled around me. I felt it touch my skin and then watched it turn to ash. The primogen blood in my veins rejected the poison like oil rejecting water. The hooded figure tilted his head. So, he said, his voice was dry, ancient, like sand scraping over bone. The rumors are true. A primogen walks again. Who are you? He pushed back his hood. His face was young, maybe 30, but his eyes belonged to something much older. The white irises pulsed faintly like they were made of clouded light. Scars crisscrossed his cheeks. Ritual scars, each one a kill. I am Malachi, he said, High Inquisitor of the Silver Axe Guild. I've been hunting your kind for 900 years. 900 years, he was older than Caspian, older than the last primogen. You missed one, I said. Malachi smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Yes, and for that my masters were displeased. They don't like loose ends. He raised his hand. The silver dust in the air froze. Then it moved. It coalesced into 1,000 tiny needles, each one aimed at me, at my eyes, my throat, my heart. You have two choices, Malachi said. Come with me willingly and I'll let this pack live. Resist and I'll burn every wolf from here to the sea, and then I'll take you anyway. I looked at the needles. I looked at the burning village. I looked at the wolves, my pack, the same ones who had cheered my death, fleeing toward the thornwood. And I made a choice, but not the one he expected. You said you've been hunting my kind for 900 years, I said. Malachi nodded. I have. Then you should know something. The third wolf stirred. This time I didn't hold her back, I became her. Primogens don't surrender. The silver needles flew. I didn't dodge, I walked through them. They hit my body and shattered. Each needle exploded into harmless dust the moment it touched my skin. The third wolf was laughing inside me. Is that all you've got? Malachi's white eyes widened. Then he moved. He was fast, faster than Caspian, faster than anyone I'd ever seen. He crossed the distance between us in a blink, his hand, tipped with claws made of pure silver, swinging for my throat. I caught his wrist. The impact sent a shockwave through the square. Cobblestones cracked. Windows shattered. Malachi stared at his trapped hand, then at me. Impossible, he whispered. You keep using that word, I said. I don't think it means what you think it means. I squeezed. His wrist snapped. Malachi screamed, not in pain, but in rage. He ripped his hand free, bones grinding, and leaped backward. His broken wrist hung at a wrong angle, but even as I watched, the bones reset. The skin healed. Silver claws, silver blood. You're not human, I realized. Malachi flexed his healed hand. No, I'm not. I'm what your kind fears. I'm the hunter who became the monster. He lunged again. This time I was ready. We clashed in the center of the burning square. He had centuries of experience. Every move was perfect, practiced, lethal. His silver claws left trails of light in the air. But I had something he didn't. I had the third wolf. And the third wolf had been fighting since before the moon existed. I ducked under his swing, spun behind him, drove my elbow into his spine. He stumbled. I grabbed his head, and I slammed it into the stone fountain. The fountain cracked, water erupted. Malachi's face, bloody, furious, rose from the rubble. Yield, I said. He laughed, a wet, broken sound. You think this is about winning, he said. Child, I've already won. The ground screamed. Not shook, screamed, like the earth itself was in agony. Cracks spread across the village. From the cracks, shadows rose, not normal shadows, living shadows. They took shape. Human shape, wolves' shape, things that had no shape. Meet the hounds of silence, Malachi said. The souls of every primogen I've ever killed. They've been waiting for you, hungry for you. The shadows turned toward me, and I recognized them. The woman with my face, the last primogen, Caspian's mate. She was among them, her shadow eyes were empty. Her shadow mouth was open in a silent scream. She was a prisoner. They all were. And Malachi controlled them. I fought. Gods, I fought. But how do you fight ghosts? How do you kill what's already dead? They dragged me down. Dozens of shadow hands grabbing my arms, my legs, my throat. The third wolf roared, but even she couldn't touch them. They weren't physical. They were regret, grief, murder. I was losing. And then a howl, not from the pack, from the thornwood. Behind him, the pack followed, not running, fighting. Kalen was there, blood on his claws, even the elderly, even the children. They had come back for me. For the primogen, Caspian roared, and the pack answered. The hounds of silence recoiled from the pack's howls. Sound, pure, living sound, disrupted them. They flickered, faded. Malachi watched his army crumble. No, he whispered. No, 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 I rose from the ground. The third wolf was furious now, not at Malachi, at herself, for almost losing. I walked toward the High Inquisitor. You said you've been hunting my kind for 900 years, I said. Here's the problem with that. He backed away. For the first time, I saw fear in those white eyes. You got old, I said. I reached into his chest, not physically, spiritually. My hand passed through his ribs like they were smoke, and I found it, the black stone heart, the thing that made him immortal. The thing that bound the hounds to his will. I crushed it. The hounds of silence turned, not toward me, toward him. The last primogen's shadow stepped forward. She looked at me. Her mouth moved. Thank you. Then the shadows consumed Malachi. He didn't die quickly. He died forever. I stood in the ashes, the crown still on my head, my body aching in ways I didn't know were possible. Caspian found me. "You came back," I said. "I told you," he replied. 300 years, I wasn't going to miss the ending. I laughed, then cried. Then both at once. He held me, and somewhere in the distance, the remaining hunter ships turned and fled. We lost 17 wolves, 17 names carved into stone, 17 souls that Malachi took before I could stop him. I lit each pyre myself. Seleni watched from the servants' quarters window. She was already thinner, already broken. She didn't look away. Good, let her watch. The pack gathered in the new square, rebuilt from the ashes. Caspian knelt before me. "Saraphina Vance," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Primogen, breaker of chains, mother of wolves." He pulled a ring from his pocket. Not gold, not silver, starlight like the crown. "I waited 300 years to ask you this," he said. "Will you be my Luna, my mate, my equal?" The crowd held its breath. I looked at the ring, at the man. At the pack that had tried to kill me and then died to save me. "Yes," I said. As Caspian slid the ring onto my finger, I felt something shift in my chest. The third wolf purred. "You did well, little one, but rest now." "The real war hasn't started yet." I frowned. "What do you mean?" The third wolf didn't answer. She was already sleeping. "To the primogen Saraphina, we have received your message regarding the Silver Axe Guild. We regret to inform you that Malachi was not the leader. He was a general. There are 7 more like him, and above them the one who waits. He has been sleeping for 1,000 years. Your awakening woke him. He is coming. The Council of Elders, the war is over, but the saga has just begun. Thank you for watching. If you want to see Saraphina face the one who waits, drop a comment. And remember, the strongest wolves aren't born in power. They're forged in fire. Subscribe.